Hey friends, if you've been shooting video for any amount of time, you've probably gone through a phase where you've been going after that film look. I've been doing it myself. I've been shooting video for years and I could never figure out quite how to do it without spending thousands of dollars on film equipment. And so recently, Dehancer reached out and said, hey, we'd love for you to look at our plugin and give us an honest review. Just a quick disclosure, I was given a license to Dehancer to produce this review, but no money exchanged hands. Everything that I say is my own opinion, and they don't see this video before it goes out. So what is Dehancer? Well, Dehancer is a plugin available for Premiere, Resolve, Final Cut Pro, really any NLE you can think of, as well as a bunch of the popular photo editing softwares like Capture One, Lightroom, and they even have their own desktop software now, which we'll take a look at here in a bit. Dehancer isn't just a LUT pack, it's a lot more. It's a full emulation system. We're talking dozens of film stocks, different print profiles, grain modeling, halation, bloom, and even film artifacts. It's designed to simulate not just the color of film, but really the entire analog process, from exposure all the way down to development and to print. So over the past week, I shot a bunch of test footage around my community, and we're just gonna go through the footage together, go through the plugin, try all the settings, and see what we think. Okay, now we're in Premiere. Let's go through a couple of these shots, going through all the different settings and everything, and see how we like it. Okay, so the first step would be to obviously apply Dehancer. So I'm going to go into my effects here, and I'm going to find Dehancer Pro and drag that on. And the first thing you're going to want to do is this input section. This input section tells Dehancer what kind of footage you're feeding it. So if you get this wrong, everything else looks wrong. You're basically telling Dehancer what your footage is. Is it Rec 709? Is it a specific log profile? So it knows how to interpret the image before applying any of these cool film emulation effects. I shot these on is actually a Lumix S5 IIX. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to press choose camera, and then I'm going to find my camera, and it would be Panasonic Lumix S5 II. Okay, perfect. So I just told Dehancer which camera it is and what log profile, so it knows to convert it internally. Okay, so we've gone into input, we've chosen our camera, and there's a bunch of other options in here. You can change the exposure up and down. You can change the temperature, you can change the tint, you can do all kinds of things. But okay, so now on to the film section. And this is really one of the coolest parts of Dehancer. This is where you get to choose from all of the different film stocks they have, and there's a lot. So if we click into film here, and we click into this box, as you can see, we've got so many options to choose from. And so right now, when you load in the plugin, it starts with Kodak Vision 3 250D for daylight. I think it looks okay. I don't love it. So let's go through our options here and see what we like. So here's Portrait 800. I like this quite a bit. 500T. That's also Kodak. Let's see how Provia 100F looks. I quite like this. It's a bit soft. It's a bit filmic. Let's roll with this. Let's go with Fujichrome Provia. And if you see here, we can also push and pull this film however we might like. I'm actually fine with how it looks out of camera. So now onto the film developer setting. And so what this does, as I understand it, is it simulates chemical development. So this is like changing how the film was developed in the lab. You can increase contrast, shift the midtones, change how saturated colors separate, without it feeling like just basic digital saturation changes. I'm actually fine with how this looks, but you can go really crazy with some stuff in here. But I'm going to leave this how it is. So I'm actually going to leave that disabled. So now on to film compression. And what film compression really is highlight roll-off control. So digital highlights clip hard. Film doesn't. Film compression smooth out bright areas so they roll off more gently instead of blowing out harshly. So what we're going to do here is we're going to enable this, and what I believe will happen is the sky should get tamed a little bit, and you can really mess around with these settings as well. You can change the impact. I want a little bit more dynamic range, so I'm gonna bump back the impact a little bit. I'm okay with where the white point is. I'm not really sure quite what total range does. Oh, that looks nice, but I'm gonna leave it how it is. Yeah, and so I think that looks great for film compression. And so on to expand. So expand is really your black and white point control. When you apply a film stock, it often looks a little flat at first. So expand lets you reset your blacks and whites so the image fits nicely into your timeline's contrast range. And so I'm going to open this setting up here, and I'm going to actually dial it up just a tad here to introduce some of that contrast back in. Okay, I like that. I think I am good with how that looks. So let's head into the print settings, and the print settings really simulate what the film was printed onto. So after film is developed, it gets printed. Different print films or papers change contrasts and colors subtly. So this section lets you choose what the film is printed onto, which really affects the final look. So let me go and find this once again. We are in the print section, and you've got a couple different options. You've got linear, Cineon film log, Fujifilm 3513 print film, Kodak 2383 print film, and Kodak Enduro glossy paper. And you've also got a bunch of different options for exposure, for your target white, tonal contrast, color density, saturation, a bunch of stuff. For now, let's just choose which print profile we like best. And so what I like to do really is just look through the different options and see what looks best. I'm by no means a professional colorist, not even close, but working with this plugin is a lot of fun. And so with a lot of these settings too, there is just a lot of like, try this, does that work? Does it look good? No, just try that. Oh, that looks good. It's a bunch of just like tinkering to get what you like. Professional colorists maybe have a better workflow, but basically what I've been doing is just sort of messing with the different options until I get a look that I'm happy with. Okay, so back to the print area here. Let's look through these. There's the Cineon film log. There's a Fujifilm 3513 print film. This looks kind of nice. There is the Kodak 2383 print film. That looks pretty good. And the Kodak Enduro glossy paper. I don't know if I love that. I'm pretty happy with this here. Fujifilm 3513. Okay. Okay. So now on to the color head settings. These settings mimic the color filters used in real film printing. So instead of digital RGB wheels, you're adjusting cyan, magenta, and yellow like an old school darkroom. I am not advanced enough to probably touch these settings, so I'm going to leave these how they are. But as you can see, you can go crazy with things. You can add colors, different colors in the shadows. You can do all kinds of stuff. But I am going to leave this where it's at. I'm happy with how that looks. And now we're on to the film grain section, which is really one of my favorite parts of this plugin. Probably the favorite parts of why other people have it. So let's look through the film grain options and see what we have here. So we have a bunch of different options here under the profiles. We've got everything from 8mm film all the way to 65mm. And as you probably know, 8mm is much more grainy than 65mm would be. So let's turn on 8mm and let's do a high ISO. And a high ISO would equal in this situation more grain. So theoretically this would be the grainiest, noisiest setting we could do for this. And now let's enable that. Wow. Okay, that is a big shift. I don't love quite how this looks. This is really taking the resolution down. So unless you were going for a specific look, I don't know if 8mm is the way to go. But this would be theoretically the busiest option in all of the settings. Okay, so now let's go to the theoretical cleanest film profile, which would be 65mm at the lowest ISO. Okay, wow, that's cleaned up quite a bit. Let's open this up here. Yeah, as you can see, it has cleaned up quite a bit. But it's still there. And it's still there. And I think it looks nice. Maybe a little bit too subtle for what I'm going for. And so maybe we can meet in the middle at 35. let's choose 35 millimeter and ISO 250 and see how this looks. Not bad. I don't mind it. I quite like how this looks. Maybe it's a little bit too noisy, so let's do it. Let's go down to ISO 50. Okay, I think this looks good. This is a good solid film look, so I will dial in there at film grade. All right, so now let's head into the halation settings. And so what is halation? So halation is the soft reddish glow you see around bright light sources in film, and it often happens because light passes through the film emulsion and reflects back. Okay, so let's head into this setting. Just like in the film grain area, you have a bunch of different film sizes to choose from, all the way from 8 millimeter to 65 again. Okay, so zooming in here, enabling it, we can see definitely right over here, and in the highlights where it's getting hit by the sun, you can really see where it's being reflected. And we can go all the way from 8 all the way down to 65 millimeters. I actually think it looks really good. Maybe Super 16, let's see. I think that looks nice. So we'll keep that on. You can really go crazy with halation depending on the shot. There's not really a lot of harsh highlights in this shot particularly, so you're not going to see it quite as much, but if you have like a neon sign, for example, it would be very, very noticeable. And some people really like the setting and go really over the top, but I usually like to put it on. I think it looks pretty nice. Okay, so now onto the bloom section. And so what bloom does is, bloom is just like a soft diffusion around the bright highlights caused by lenses, film layers, whatever. It's less red than halation. It's like more of a soft light halo. And so let's see here. Let's zoom in and let's turn this on. And it should seem like it's getting a bit softer. Ooh, I quite like how that looks. Let's get our different settings here. Super 16 looks quite nice. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so now on to film damage. And so what this is dust, scratches, hairs, dirt. It simulates physical film imperfections. So dust particles, scratches, tiny hairs, all the little artifacts that make film feel a little bit more tactile. Okay, so that's enabled this. Okay, so we should, in theory, see here a bunch of imperfections added. Yeah, and so you can see these little artifacts that are all around the screen. I think it looks nice. I'm sure if you put it down to 8 millimeter, it really gets messy. Yeah, that's intense. Okay, let's go back to 35 millimeters. I like this. Okay. Now on to film breadth. And so what film breadth is subtle exposure and color fluctuations throughout the clip. So think frame to frame, different levels of exposure. And why that is film doesn't hold perfectly steady from frame to frame. So film breadth recreates those tiny fluctuations in brightness and color. And so that makes, so the idea is that it makes the footage feel a little bit more alive. Let's turn this on and see how it looks. I like it. It's subtle. Let's go down to 8 and see how crazy we can make it. Okay, yeah. 8 is crazy. Let's go up to 35. I still don't love it. Let's try 65 millimeters. I think that's okay. Anything lower, I wasn't loving. All right, so now on to gate weave. What is gate weave? Gate weave physically moves around the frame. So in film production, film physically moves through a camera. Gate weave adds those tiny shifts and rotations that happen during that process. So the image suddenly moves instead of being perfectly locked digitally. So let's go ahead and turn that on. And as you can see, it adds a slight crop. It's so. Let's go crazy with it. Again, 8mm. That is wild. Let's go to 65. That was okay. Okay, let's keep that in. Now into overscan. So what overscan is it simulates the scan film where you can see the edges of the frame and sometimes the sprocket holes. This is a really stylized part of this plugin. I don't love it. I think it's, it has its uses, but you can go really, really crazy with this. So let's enable it here. And yeah, you can see you can get really crazy with this. And one thing you've probably noticed is that the more I add these effects onto these clips, like playback is really slowing down. I'm definitely chugging. I'm losing a couple of frames really. And I'm editing this on a MacBook Pro 16-inch M1 Max, and so it's not the newest chip, but yeah, it's definitely having more trouble as I add these layers on top. Super 8, this looks really strange. It doesn't look strange, it's just stylized. And so there are specific use cases where you'd want these effects. You can do all kinds of funky stuff with this. I would usually leave this off unless I'm going specifically for some sort of look. So I'm going to take overscan off. Now let's head into a vignette. So you know what a vignette is. It darkens or brightens the edge of the frame to guide attention. Let's turn this on. Ooh, I actually like how this looks. You can dial this back, forth. I kind of like how it looked straight out of camera, or just with that initial setting turned on. Okay, that looks great. And yeah, so now we have gone through all the different settings for this clip, and I think it looks pretty nice. So let's see what it looks like without. So that's just straight out of camera. And this is with all of our changes in Dehancer. Pretty cool. Okay, so heading over into their website, you can see you can pay for Dehancer monthly, annually, or you can do a lifetime membership. If you pay monthly, and individual is the software that I've been using, or the license that I've been using, you get access to a bunch. You get access to Resolve, you get access to Final Cut, you get access to all the Adobe stuff. So that's Premiere and After Effects. You get all the different photo options too. So we walked through the video software, but there are plugins for Lightroom, Capture One, all of those as well. And then they even have a desktop software which is in beta. I may cover that in my next video because it is brand new. You also have access to Dehancer Mobile, which is a mobile app that you can use. You also have access to Dehancer Online, which is sort of a web interface where you can upload things and do it online without having to have the software installed. That's pretty cool. But all of that, $60 a month if you're paying monthly. If you go for an annual subscription, it's $25 a month. And it goes all the way up to, you can buy this once. There is a lifetime option. And if we choose, let's say we choose Adobe, it is a $700 lifetime access for one of the softwares. Whether that's worth it to you, I don't know. But I will say that Dehancer does typically offer some trials that you can use. And so you can go in, play with these settings, throw a couple of clips in and see if you like it. Whether it's worth that cost is really going to be on you. But what I can say is I really enjoyed using this software. It's been a lot of fun clicking through all the different settings. And the colorists who may be watching this may be sort of scowling and laughing at my choices, but I've been having a lot of fun. I'll keep using it, I'll keep learning it, and I'll I'll share what I learned with you all as well. So thank you, friends, for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. I plan to cover some more of this down the line. So if this is helpful or fun, please let me know and I'll do more videos on it in the future. So thank you. We'll see you next time.